Hey, David.
Hey, Dean, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. Again, thank you. So I've got three different hypothetical scenarios that we're going to walk through for this episode. But first, let folks know a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. I'm David LaCombe. I'm a fractional CMO to early stage B2B companies in healthcare. And I bring the following mindset to everything that we do. I much rather do things where instead of moving from, let's redo that, Dean. Hi, I'm David LaCombe. I'm a fractional CMO to early stage B2B healthcare companies. And I bring the following mindset to my clients. I much rather move from selling things to people that they just simply buy to selling things that they use and they tell their friends.
All right. Excellent. Okay. So, scenario number one, you've signed a new client, all the paperwork's done. They happen to be local. So, where I imagine a lot of your clients or most of your clients are virtual to you, this one is only 5 minutes from your home. So, you're going to actually go there on day one. Okay. So, you walk in on day one of this new paid engagement. What's the nightmare scenario that you would walk into? And what's the dream scenario that you would walk
No,
into?
nightmare scenario is that they're not expecting you, that they're
Mm,
disorganized, that they've not focused and prioritized, this expensive and essential kickoff time. Ideal scenario is that they're the opposite, right? They're expecting you, they're prepared, and they've perhaps sent information ahead of time.
right.
They've carefully orchestrated the day so that you're meeting with key stakeholders to kick off on the right foot and develop a relationship.
Your nightmare scenario there reminded me of an actual life experience I had. The second last corporate job I ever had, uh, I walked in and they were completely. I mean, it was like a 5 month interviewing process, and I walked in on day one, and they had no idea that I was supposed to be there, and I really, really should have taken that as a sign that this was going to be a very up and down, disorganized kind of arrangement. And I didn't, totally ignored it. And I was like, forget it. So, yeah, okay. I didn't need that trigger, but thanks very much for that.
Come on
Uh,
back, Dean. It's going to be
oh
okay.
my. Okay. So, back to our scenario. You, it's because it's still day one and you're on site that you've got like, a 15, 30-minute meeting arranged with the CEO. You sit down and the CEO says, David, so like, welcome. And it's official. We're a customer now. I got to ask you, you work or deal with a lot more CEOs than I, as a CEO here, deal with CMOs. It's just the nature of your work versus mine. So is there something that I can do that'll help maximize the value we're going to get out of you here? Or is there something I should stop doing so that you don't have to use any of your time or effort to sort of overcome it or work around it?
Well, the first thing you do is you thank the CEO for being so thoughtful to ask you that question.
There you go.
That tells me an awful lot about them and what they're thinking about. The advice to the CEO is that let's be candid with each other, right? So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, hiring a fractional CMO is a significant investment, and it only really pays dividends if they understand legitimately why they hired you, right? So, if they're talking about growth and they're painting a rosy picture, and yet you start doing the dive in and doing your due diligence, and you find that things are awry, it's a red flag. They're telling you that
Right.
they're not actually being genuine with you. So my advice to any CEO thinking of hiring a fractional CMO is be really very clear of why you're hiring them. Uh, Not all CMOs are created equal. It depends on where you are in your journey and the specific skill sets that they bring to you.
All right. Okay. So, new scenario. Uh, you're on stage. You're the keynote speaker. The audience has 250 people in it. They all came out of corporate. They all became fractional CMOs yesterday. They are brand new. Like you're the old guard expert compared to these folks, right? That's how they're looking at you. And so I'm going to tell you three different things, sentences, and you're going to finish them for that audience. Okay. So you're talking to this audience and you say, hey, like, um, something to realize as a fractional CMO starting out, you're going to be shocked by what?
How often organizations hire you under the pretense that you're the fractional CMO and actually want you to be an entry level marketer?
Hmm. What do you mean by that?
They want you to do tactical things. Can you work on this
Oh,
campaign brief? Can you proofread this copy? Can you help us to develop a content calendar?
All right. So they want it's pure execution.
Yeah, it's
Right.
agency, low level agency work.
Right. Okay. All right. The next sentence, and take as long as you want to finish it. Um, what you guys are going to be surprised by is that many customers just don't understand.
Many customers really don't understand the complexity of executing strategy,
Yeah.
that there's often an uncomfortable moment where we have to reconcile strategic growth expectations with people's to-do lists, which are ridiculously long.
All right. And then you're getting towards the end of your speech there. Some intern is trying to like signal you to get off the stage. They're going to bring up the music, right? And but you're determined as they sort of move you off the stage with the big hook. Yeah. But like, by the way, one lesson I want to make sure everyone understands here: when it comes to fractional CMOs getting clients, it is what?
Is being honest about what your superpower is.
Yeah.
The term itself, fractional CMO, is meaningless. You have to really be able to be clear in your own mind of like what specifically you do that brings value to your customers.
Right. All right. Okay, so that's the end of our second scenario, and let's roll into our third one. It's a big conference. You're on the floor of the convention, kind of thing, and you're talking to companies who are prospective clients. So we're going to spend a little time talking about prospective clients. Okay? So first off, you're talking to these prospective clients. They're talking, I'm sure, they're in the market for looking for a fractional CMO, so they're talking to other chief marketers. And when the time they get to you, they want to talk about certain things. As they talk to you about and mention certain things, what's overrated when you're talking to prospects these days, and what's kind of criminally underrated that you think a lot more of prospective clients would do well to pay attention to or understand. So, it could be a tool, a platform, a concept, latest shiny thing. What's overrated these days in marketing? What's underrated?
The most overrated thing in marketing today is
Yeah.
measuring too many things that just simply don't matter.
Yeah.
And the thing that's most underrated is spending time with customers and understanding their struggling moments.
Okay. And then what's underrated?
Yeah, okay.
Like what's most criminally underrated?
The most criminally underrated marketing behavior today is not spending enough time with customers,
Right.
understanding what's their struggling moment, what are they trying to do, how are they managing it today, why would they even consider replacing what they're currently doing for something different. If you can't answer that question, nothing else that you're going to do as a marketing leader will make a bit of difference.
Yeah. You know what? Whenever I ask the criminally underrated question, uh, it always seems like I'll give you an example. I was talking to one of my clients, and he's been a full time CMO, an interim CMO, a fractional CMO, at least 11 big engagements in the last 30 something years. And I said, hey, so a fractional CMO kind of like shows up at an engagement, and they've got some things in their pocket, and one of them is a Rolodex. So if that client doesn't happen to know an SEO person or a graphics person or an agency or whatever, right? They'll often ask you, "Hey, do you have anyone you like or trust or work with?" Right? And I said, if an agency that and I'm not an agency, and I'm not in the agency business, but agencies as an example, for like if the one that you normally use is not available for some, like how do you find a new agency or the right agency for that client? And he said, I ask around, talk to people that I know. I said, how is that different from how someone would find an agency 100 years ago? And he says there's absolutely no difference to how you would do it 100 years ago. Almost all of the criminally underrated stuff is the same thing we would have done 100 years ago, including talking to customers and finding out what they want and need. And I don't know why that stuff is always criminally underrated, and yet everyone knows intuitively that it's smart and the way things are done, and everyone wants to move on to a new gimmick, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's often tempting, right, to forget the lessons that have been tried and true by people who've come before you.
right.
And I think any true professional studies their craft, studies what works, right, and
Yeah,
is open to new ideas, but doesn't abandon the tried and true principles for the flashy new thing.
right. Yeah, yeah. True enough. Okay, so you're talking to these folks, and one of the prospective customers asks you, like, I got to tell you, I've heard so much from so many different people just in the last 2 days, from the breakout rooms and the speeches and the one-on-one conversations I'm having in the booth. Like, David, what is marketing?
Marketing is all about uncovering customers' needs. Marketing is not about creating demand. You can't create demand. You can reveal it. And marketing needs to be curious. I think we've gotten stuck in our cubicles, in our boardrooms, in echo chambers, listening to ourselves, and we're not spending enough time really understanding our markets.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. And then, as you're talking to prospective clients, what's a couple of your green flags? And like, oh yeah, like this could be fun. I think I'd enjoy working with them. And what are a couple of red flags? Like, not for me, and I'm not even sure they should ever be talking to any fractional CMO. So two
Yeah,
green flags, two red flags.
when I'm talking to a prospective client, green flags include an open mindset where they are
Right.
clear about what they want to accomplish, and they're also truthful. Look, we've tried these things. These things work, those things didn't. We're not quite sure we have the solution yet. We'd like an
Right.
outside opinion. Those signals, to me, reveal a lot about how they go about organizing their business.
Openness. Yeah.
Openness. Exactly.
Curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the red flags?
A red flag would be that they've got this all figured out. Listen,
Mm.
if you've got this all figured out, you don't need me.
Right.
And if you're convincing yourself that you're right, you're not going to be open to people questioning because they're seeking to understand. You're going to resent it. So, this goes back to you should always be really very clear as to why you're hiring somebody. If you
Right.
can't, link that to like some type of really significant moment in the future, then don't hire them.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, so I have one more question. And it's going to be sort of a strange question, but I'll leave it to you how you want to pursue it. Um, you can ask. You can either send out an open question to the audience and see what responses we get back over time about anything you might want to ask the audience about. The audience of this podcast, by the way, primarily in order. Neither one of these is a majority, but the largest minority are heads of sales. The second largest group, CEO/founder. Third largest group, head marketer. According to LinkedIn, these are the three categories of for who watches. So you can sort of ask an open question to the audience. You can ask an open question about fractional CMOs, and this is relatively rare, but you could ask a question of me if you want to, since you're the only guest this time.
If I could ask your audience only one question,
Yeah.
it would be this. What is it that you're doing today to educate and hone the skills of your go-to-market teams? And when I talk about go-to-market, I'm talking about sales, marketing, customer experience, and even product.
Mm-hmm.
How are you assessing their competence? Where are you making investments in the team? And what's the roadmap for how the team is going to evolve?
What are some of the investments they should look at possibly making?
Well, I think if you're not linking the training that you're doing with your team members, with your growth expectations, there's going to be a mismatch. People are a collection of technical skills and biases in their own thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And we need teams to come together as a cohesive unit who share a vision about what the future looks like for both their company and their customers. And if you've got a lot of people who are just kind of in their own bubble, in their own silo, and they're not training together on like the things that really matter, then there's going to be a lot of expenditure of calories, but it's not going to get you up the mountain of where you want to go.
And if you were talking to a potential client and you're in a meeting with their current executive leadership team, and the conversation gets around to go to market, what would you tell them typically a company should avoid unless they know what they're doing? What are
I
the
think
pitfalls or the common places that people misspend the money?
the number one thing that you should avoid is delegating the accountability and responsibility of the go-to-market, output
Right.
to a line function. Whether it be,
Mm-hmm.
a growth officer or VP of sales or a CMO. The CEO owns the strategy. They own GTM, and they lead right side by side with all the different functional leaders to be able to execute the vision. If you delegate that, you really deserve the results that you're going to get.
All right. All right. David, these days, who should be reaching out to you? And what's the best way for them to get in touch with
Yeah, the people who I hope will reach out to me include founders and presidents of early stage companies that have let's start that over. The people who should reach out to me include founders and presidents of early stage companies who are growth minded, who are looking for an external champion to listen to them, to guide them on how you're actually going to achieve growth. Oftentimes, a founder will have a certain experience that will send a signal to them, right, that they're on the right track.
you? Right.
But then they hit a ceiling and they don't know why. And one of the things that I'm really very good at is uncovering why you've hit the ceiling and helping you to navigate through it or over it.
All right. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? The fastest, easiest way.
Easiest way to get a hold of me is to direct message me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, how many cold messages do you get on LinkedIn per month, do you think?
I'm probably getting 7 or 8 a month.
That's
Um,
all? Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Good.
Why you think that's a low number?
Oh, yeah. I get. Yeah. Typically, what I find is if you have marketing, just the word marketing, anywhere in your LinkedIn profile, you're, at least in my case, and a lot of people I know, like just being in marketing in general means that at a minimum, lead gen companies are always hitting you up, trying to get you into a conversation. There must be something about the lead gen industry that that just like requires that it must be brutally competitive.
Yeah, I
Uh,
misunderstood your question. I thought you were talking about opportunities for me.
yeah, no, I mean just generally, how many
Oh,
times you get?
generally, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
And the ones that are really most
I
offensive are
bet.
the ones who are trying to sell something that I'm not even involved in. So they're truly not even looking to see what I do.
Yeah, yeah. All right, fair enough. All right, David, thanks for being here. This is fantastic.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.